Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And this is going to be the last video in my series on how to be a witch series. And this one is about the stuff. Grimoires, tools, crystals, clothes, decor, the stuff. Some might say the main reason you even got involved in witchcraft to begin with. For some of us, it's really just having access to the stuff. A lot of us just want to, the cool things. We like that. So anyway, let me go ahead and just jump right into it. So full disclosure, I like this stuff. I'm not going to advocate for you to not use anything. I'm not going to tell you you don't need it. Not really my thing. I kind of like this stuff myself. So I'm not going to tell you not to use the stuff. So let's just start there. 2, I think tools help you focus your mind. I think when you're working on a spell, when you're working on a ritual or whatever, the tools, the process of actually lighting the candle, there's a reason in other faiths that tools are used, candles, lighting something. It's all ceremonial and it's ritualistic, and it does something to your mind. When you're lighting that candle with that lighter on this altar or whatever, like all the very specifics, it means something to you. It signifies something more sacred. So tools are not just about, the pretty cool things, although it can be, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'll get to that in a moment. But I find that they're beneficial. And I know some people may feel differently. I think if you're not in a position to purchase tools, or the tools that you would like to purchase, it could be very easy to just kind of write it off and say, you don't really need all of that. You don't need those tools and all this. And I understand that. There was once upon a time I didn't have the funds to buy all the things that I wanted. So I can understand thinking like that, because I did the same thing. It's more of a protective thought process. That's what I told myself so that I could feel better that I wasn't financially in a position to purchase everything that I wanted. However, the moment I was in a financial position, I did purchase those things. So I'll be honest, just using myself as the example, it's a little hate, being a little hater. So I'm hating on other people because they could afford it. I was just being 100% honest. We're all capable of that. Maybe not about this, but we're capable of sometimes, petty, envious feelings. Unfortunately, I try to be perfect. I really do. But anyway, so I say all that to say, don't let anybody try to shame you for wanting some stuff. Now, with anything, there's balance. You don't need to buy everything. You don't need to buy everything. You really don't, because you probably won't even use most of the stuff, so you don't need it. I digress. I believe that magical tools and supplies have a vibration. They have a vibration. When you purchased it, you were energy coding it with a specific intention. Before you even got into the process of cleansing, you had a very clear intention on how you wanted to use that particular, item. So that's giving it a certain vibration. Because you infused your energy into it, not to mention its own energy vibration, its own vibration from the people who touched it prior to, from the person who stocked it, they touched it, to the manufacturer and all that, the distributor, all of that, it's been handled. So that's why cleansing is important with everything that I'm talking about. Let me just start there. Cleanse everything first. It does have its own vibration. So you want to code your own intentional match or energy onto that particular item. So always remember that when you're working with tool supplies. Sometimes I've been lazy. I've grabbed a candle and I just start anointing with oils and stuff like that, but I didn't properly cleanse it. Like from a metaphysical point of view, I did not cleanse it. I've done that. It's not nice. It's not a good thing. Does it take away from your magic? Possibly. It depends on what energy signature it's emitting. Sometimes you're lucky and it's not a big deal. You could just work around it. Other times, maybe not so much. And things don't go as right as it should have, and you don't understand. So remember that. Anyway, I'm just looking down at my notes. Dressing witchy, because I talked about dress, decor, and so forth. So whatever says witch to you, witchy to you, that's what you deem as witchy. For some people, it might be dressing in all black. It's not even about a specific item. It's more about color. Color magic is a thing. But yeah, it could just, whatever you deem witchy. So it's not what I say or anybody else says. It could just be jewelry or wearing dark lipstick or, whatever your deal is. The point is, when you're dressed witchy, we'll just say it like that. When you feel I'm a witch, you got your outfit on or whatever, and you feel very witchy. What you are doing is you're raising energy. There's a certain hum of energy that's just there, ready and ripe to be used for any sort of magical working, because you have it right there on the surface. You're feeling like a badass witch, right? So it's right there. And you can tap into that when you need to. That's why it's important to kind of stay in alignment with your magical goals. What are you trying to accomplish being a witch? What is this all about? And the tools will make sense more once you answer that question, including how you dress. And you might not dress the same all the time. You could be wearing all pink and, some, witchy jewelry or whatever. You get my point. It doesn't have to be stereotypical witch dressed in all black and all that sort of stuff. Whatever it is to you, the point is that energy that you're getting from it, specifically with color magic, the energy that you're getting, and that you have a hum of energy around you because your mind is thinking the entire time how much of a witch you are, and how powerful you are, most likely. You're feeling yourself, and that's a good thing. Man, imagine if you were doing that on an everyday basis. You would literally be unstoppable because your magic is going to work because you're already there. It's not about what anybody else says. It's not what people think. You're already there. On the flip side, not dressing witchy not going the route of using, decorative items that scream I'm a witch, on your clothes and things like that, or jewelry, what have you, the way you present yourself, looking more mundane. There's something to be said about that. Just want to kind of veer off on that too. Practicing witchcraft holds a sense of mystery, and you doing that also is kind of keeping that energy going, that mysterious energy. And for some of us, that's even more powerful than outwardly showing how witchy we are. Having that little secret that we know we can cast and that we can meditate or manifest, actual things into existence. They were in our minds and now it's right in front of us. We're touching, feeling it, it's sensing it, smelling it, all of our senses are engaged. It's a real thing, just as we saw it in our mind and we made it happen. And maybe in a relatively short period of time. The point is though, knowing that and feeling power, again, it goes back to feeling, honestly, and how you feel about everything. But knowing that, you might be dressed in, like I said, something very mundane, and you wield all this power, you can wield all this power. There's something to be said about that too. Again, it's just more energy. You're still feeling yourself, so that's a positive thing. Okay, so let's talk about having magical supplies and your tools, altars, things like that out in the open for anybody who's in your home to see. Doing that on a positive sense is there's that hum of energy. The more that, you love on these spaces and these items, and when I mean love on them, I mean clean them, take care of them, talk to them. Your altar, you go there, you worship, or, you revere, or whatever you're doing. The point is that you go there and you're emitting certain energy, and that energy never dies. And especially if you're petitioning and asking for something, you're waiting to receive, word back or some sort of confirmation or validation or something. Well, that means energy's coming through a portal from somewhere, right? From the ethers, from, another plane, whatever. The point is spirit world. But that is energy. So that is coming into your space. that's coming into your place. So having these things out in the open, not saying that just because you got it locked away, you don't receive the same benefit. But obviously if it's out in the open and you're using it and tending to it on top of that, then yeah, that's a certain hum of energy that's always there. There's some magical vibration. It's just like, it's just humming when you walk in the house. Some people who are very sensitive feel it. Now, if you are a practitioner who, you balance light and dark, they might feel all kinds of crazy when they walk in your house, especially if you haven't cleansed it at that time. They could feel really off. And it doesn't mean that you're bad, you're doing bad things, evil and all that sort of stuff. People who are very sensitive, they're just picking up on energy, various energy signatures, your own, whatever spirit, deity, whoever you working with, and maybe the other people in the house. And if they got their own practice, boy, that's crowded. And that could feel overwhelming. So don't take it wrong especially like I said, if you balance light and dark very easily in your magical practice, don't get offended or think that there's something else going on because someone else walked in and they felt overwhelmed with the energy in your home. If you're fine, everybody else is fine, that's okay. They could be very sensitive, and they're not. You have certain spirits probably attached to you. So, like I said, there's just an alignment that you're comfortable with that makes sense for you. That might be way too much for them because it's unknown. So their warning bells go up. So they might tell you, hey, I'm nervous. Especially if they physically see the altar and all the supplies sitting out. It could be, like I said, even people who practice or who kind of dabble in the magical world, they could still be put off by that sort of stuff too. So unfortunately, that's the negative side of it. When other people see your stuff, that could be a problem. But taking that out of the equation, just focusing on you, it's great to be able to have all your stuff out. I think that's great. If you have a room dedicated to just practicing your craft, oh my gosh, think of how that, first of all, the energy signature will move, the vibration, frequency, all that will move out that room. Let me be very clear, but it will be very strong in that room, and you'll want to cast in your room all the time. Not saying you can't do it in other parts of the house, but it's just going to feel like a comfy pair of slippers, putting them on when you do it there. Everything just clicks. Everything feels right. Also, a place to go, your altar and your supplies. They can bring comfort when you're not feeling your most magically best, your most badass witch. You might not be feeling that at the time for whatever reason, health, emotional stuff, all that. Sometimes because they have their own vibration, it can kind of pour into you when you're feeling low. So that's another thing that I like having certain things around. Now remember, what I'm calling supplies and tools and even an altar might not look like what everybody else's look like. For you, it could be a tea light candle and a picture of a deceased relative, and that's the altar. You might have a decorative wine bottle because that was their favorite wine. Anybody, they would just think, oh, well, that's sweet that you did that for Aunt so-and-so or Grandma such and such. If it's more than that, if it's a specific deity, it might deity, a goddess, perhaps. Oshun, because, everybody's familiar. It might simply be a 5x7 picture frame with a piece of beautiful gold cloth in it. There's no picture. You just have a piece of cloth, under the glass. It could be something like that, very, something super texture and maybe a fine, very fine fabric. Something you consider luxurious and beautiful and rich, that sort of thing, very fancy, beautiful, all that. So you would do that, and let's say you have that. You might have, again, a chime candle. You might even have a scented candle. And it might be a specific scent that makes sense to you, in reverence to your goddess Oshun. So it might be something like that, because maybe you're not in a position to go all out, or you don't feel comfortable. You're a minimalist, and this makes sense to you. That's cool. That's cool. And no one else would know what that is, but it's still giving the same energy. You're still getting all the benefits of someone with a more elaborate altar that looks very much like an altar. Okay. All right, so, the Grimoire, my favorite topic. have a grimoire, have a book of shadows. If you do nothing, if you don't have candles, if you don't have incense, if you don't have anything, find a notebook and call it your journal, your magical journal of sorts, or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to use grimoire or book of shadows. Just write down how you feel, write down your dreams, write down signs, symbols, write down messages, write down, notes from books, movies, YouTube videos. Write it down. Write down the stuff that you try, even and you weren't sure. Write it down. If you even think it worked a little bit, write it down. Write down the stuff that didn't work so you can go back and maybe tweak it later and say, and write your notes. Hey, did the spell didn't work? And you can jot things down. You can improve on that, and that's great. That's building up your magical grimoire. That's building up your magical practice. So, yeah, you can tell I really like grimoires. The book itself will begin to have its own energy signature. It will be its own, it will vibrate with its own energy. Obviously, it's the energy you're putting into it, but when you mix that with the information you're putting into it, and then the book blessing itself, that's going to create something unique. It's still a part of you, but it's its own standalone thing. That's why some people can pass these things down. It's a part of the people who came before them, and that's a good thing, and they can pass it down, and it can still be used once by somebody else. So it's not just you, it is a part of you, but it's evolved into something a little bit more. So that's what I like about keeping some sort of magical journal. I'll say journal instead of grimoire, book of shadows, in case that's too fancy. But the point is, some sort of record keeping of your magical practice, I think is an essential thing in witchcraft. I really do. It's important. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's one of the tools you can't be without, because you can cast without any other tools, but you need to write your stuff down. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, also it becomes more, less than a reference than something sacred. It becomes your holy book. So be prepared for that to happen. And how does that look? In the same way that you see people, handle this, their, Bible or anything else, they with respect and care, and some people write in it and stuff like that. Obviously, you're writing it, so you'll be writing in it. But it's going to take on a different vibe, where it's no longer a craft project, a paper craft project. It's no longer, the more you use it, it's not about getting it right, writing very neatly, or having it just so, or making it look like the classic witchy style. It becomes, like I said, its own living thing. It will have, honestly, because I have a book of shadows, and when I have several that I've completed, books that I've completed, and they become something much more than what I started with. They completed books, or even halfway completed books, excuse me, they become very sacred. And I don't know, it's just, like I said, it has its own energy. And I feel like whatever I write now, it becomes a magical book. And it is so once I write it. I really do feel that way. Like, I'll write manifestation list, things that I want to manifest over a period of time, like usually toward the beginning of the year or at the end of the year, like October, because, the witch's new year, October 31st. So I'll write things down and list them out. And whatever I've listed in my book of shadows at the time came true. It works for me. So, like I said, the more you use it, the more sacred it becomes, the more magical it becomes. Get yourself a magical journal. Let me see, what else do I have here? Oh, crystals. So the next thing, crystals. All right, so they obviously have their own energy. They emit their own vibrations. That's one of the reasons most of us love crystals, because we can use them to aid us. If you're feeling depleted and you're feeling down and health-wise you're not great, they have a crystal for that. You can put crystals on your purse and have them in the room, have them around you, just carry them on you. And the thought is that the energy from the crystal is now going to be absorbed by you. That energy, you can absorb some of that energy. Okay. Crystals could be recharged, so you can't overdo it as far as the energy is concerned. Some people believe, oh, one or two is all you need. Some people believe the more the better. I walk a fine line between them both. That's just me. I told you I like this stuff. But anyway, so there's that. And yeah, outside of, to me, I think just carrying a crystal like in your bra or in your purse or having one in your car for protection, to me, that's more mundane. I don't see that necessarily as inherently witchy. I think it's a little more mundane because you have people who are into the new age and they do that, you know, and they don't call themselves a witch or anything like that. So I consider that more mundane. The crystals become, to me, for me, I use them in my craft. For instance, creating a crystal grid of sorts or creating a barrier using crystals for a magical circle. I remember I did a love spell for someone that I know, and what I did was I circled, so there was I had a candle and, yeah, a whole set with herbs and oils and all that sort of stuff I anointed it with, and they all meant something for the people I was dealing with. There was a picture involved. I had a couple different pieces. The point is, the space I was working on my desk, I drew, and I just instinctively felt like this is necessary. I centered my crystals around in a protective circle. And I used specific healing crystals, rose quartz for love, that sort of stuff, clear quartz, as well to block any interference. And each one I intentionally set down with that intention, you know, for the purpose of what it was going to be used for and the known energy that they emit. So that's how you could use it in your magic, you know, kind of, it was for me, it was like boosting energy, and each crystal was designated a certain task to do to aid in my overall spell. So that's one way to go about it. And like hanging crystals, like I said, in a car. Now, if you put the energy into it as a sense of protection, so the crystal, let's say, is known to be very protective, but then you add some protective magic on top of it, you spell it, then yeah, that's obviously you're using it more in a more witchy way, versus just having it on you and, you know, or you just like to look at them or have them on display. I think a lot of people like that, and they believe there's some benefit from it being emitted, but that's as far as it goes with them. For us, why can't I talk? For those of us who practice witchcraft, yeah, we can have some that are pretty to look at because we like pretty shiny things too. But you probably are going to infuse them with some sort of magical energy or something like that. All right, so that's crystals. Divination tools. So also, outside of the Grimoire, I feel like that's an essential piece of my witchcraft. My tarot cards are very much a part of me and how I move in my witchcraft. I use those for communication when I speak with those on another realm or another plane of existence. I use that because that works for me. I use it also to look into the future. I use it to look into a current situation for myself or others. If I'm curious about what's going on with a particular person or situation and I feel like something's being hidden from me, I will go to my cards and I will look. I will look to see how things might work out in a situation. If I have a dilemma between decision A, decision B, I'll use my cards to help me make a decision. That's how serious, and they could be serious things, you know, jobs, health, whatever the situation is, I will consult my cards before I sit and have a conversation. The more serious it is, actually, I will go to my cards before I want to talk to anybody. And I'm a married lady. I got kids, I got best friends, I got all that sort of stuff. But if I'm looking for a certain level of guidance, I'm going to go to my cards and then I'll meditate on the answer. I don't always get the answer I like. Sometimes I get an answer where I don't think it necessarily makes sense. I meditate on it. I might even do another reading and then it makes sense. The first time I probably didn't pull enough cards because I felt like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, and I stopped. Or, you know, I just wasn't receptive to the message. But the point is, I find my cards are super helpful in helping me navigate. And I'll be honest with you, I I mean, I'm trying to say this in a very nice way. I don't like the term humble. More about that in another. Maybe I'll come back to that on this video, but we'll see. The word humble irritates me. I hate that word, but anyway, or how people use it. But basically, the things, my cards have guided me in a way where I'm literally sitting, they help guide me to this place, and it's what I wanted. It's exactly where I want it to be and how I wanted things to be. So that's just one thing, like in a very literal sense, not metaphorically, not figuratively, literally, they help me get to where I'm literally sitting right now on this land in this kitchen filming. So my tarot cards have been instrumental in my practice. I will not be giving them up, and I find them super helpful. So there's that. Okay, let's talk about a little bit more of the kind of common and obscure supplies and tools that you would have in your craft. Wands. So I have a wand. I use it sometimes when I'm doing my tarot readings, honestly. I like to use my wands. I'll tap 3 times. That's like the doorway opening, 3 knocks. And that's my entrance into whatever realm I'm trying to get into and communicate with whoever is there. So 1, 2, 3, I'll tap with my wand. I don't do it all the time. Sometimes I just knock on the cards, on a deck of cards. I'm sorry, getting comfortable here. But yeah, that's my thing. Yeah, the 3 number is significant with me, very significant. So I'll do it. I usually do anything in magic. I'm usually doing it 3 times. Let's just be clear. It's a thing. Anyway, animal parts and feathers. So I know some people like to keep animal parts, hides, bones, whatever, to use for certain things because they obviously are going to have a certain level of energy from the animal itself. So yeah, that's something. If you're not into that, that's cool. A feather, yes, I just did a video last Friday for my altar kit box that I got. It comes with a feather, so now I have a feather. I didn't have one before, and I had been wanting one, so that's fine. I don't know about the bones for me. I haven't felt the need to use that in my magic to work it that way. Shells, I've had seashells because I was living in Florida, South Florida, so I had access to the beach. And the seashells made sense for me, and I was able to use that in different rituals and different practices, even divination. So that made sense. But right now, bones or hide, I don't see that right now. And I don't have any judgment against it. I could make something. I mean, I could conjure something, but anyway, now I'm thinking about it. But as of now, no, not for me. But, you know, it's out there. Herbs, obviously, different herbs. And when I say herbs, it can go all kinds. I mean, there's all types of stuff. Here's the thing about using herbs in your workings. If you don't have it, don't beat yourself up over it. Look for a substitute. There's a substitute for almost everything. Even if you've read or somebody said you have to follow it specifically. Excuse me. Throat tickle. Anyway, go ahead and just use your substitution. It's about your intention more than anything. Don't trip about using an exact thing. Get as close to a substitution of that. Just rework the spell if you have to. Don't stress about a specific herb. The more, and by the way, be careful with going out buying a bunch of kits with all these herbs in them. Where they come from? How old are they? You know, I'm funny about that. Use what you need. Okay, so you know you're going to do a spell on Saturday and it's causing for mugwort or something like that. Okay, order it, go to the store, pick it up. All right, and have extra. And then, you know, you want to start making certain teas with a specific herb and, you know, you can't buy it in a store. Okay, so buy a bunch of that. So gradually build up your herbal library, you know, or your herbal cabinet. Don't try to get it all at once. It's not worth it. Get what you need when you need it and just buy a little extra each time. Oils. Okay, I'm going to say, I know people sell their oils, and if that works for you, that's fine. I am so funny. I'm going to want to make my own oil. I do support, here's the thing though, I would support a fellow witch and I would purchase her oils and stuff like that because I don't know, I like doing stuff like that. And I might even go ahead and use it. That's fine because you know what? Sometimes life gets hard, busy. You don't have time to make your stuff. So it's good in a pinch to have, you know, something ready to go that you trust to use. So yeah, that's fine. But if, when possible, make your own. You can still buy other people's stuff, but make your own oils for various purposes. Prosperity oil, you know, love magic oil, confidence oil, protection oil, stay away oils, whatever, you know. Make your own stuff is basically what I'm saying. Label it. And that's something, you know, you keep it, making it small batches, small bottles, especially if you're making a lot, you know, that way nothing goes bad and you use it. You just replace it and make more as needed. And again, if in a pinch, you're not in a position to replace them, you have the store-bought oils, you know, from somebody else's shop or whatever, and you can use that if you want, you know. So oils, yeah. Washes, people buy Florida water, floor washes, stuff like that. I have some rose water. I have some Florida water also. I purchased those things right before I left Florida, and I still have it because I usually don't use a lot at once. That's another thing I would advocate to start making yourself, but I haven't made my own, so I'm going to we probably need to start making our own, okay? Because clearly I'm not going to lie to you and say, yeah, make your own. I made my own oils. I haven't made my own washes and my own Florida water, so maybe that's something we can work on together. Sacred cloths, so altar cloth, tarot. You know, people have a certain cloth they use for when they read cards or they do divination. They might throw shells, bones, what have you. The point is, or runes. There's a certain cloth that's special just for that purpose. A ritual cloth, all that sort of stuff. So those are the little tools and things like that you might not be thinking about. You can have more than one. Something for tarot, like I said, for divination, something for the altar, something for spells, magical use. You put certain cloth down, and that means it's go time once that cloth is down. Cauldron. I have a cauldron. It's a small one. It's about this big. I used to think I wanted a big one. I did. I don't. Now on the other end of it, I don't see the purpose of me personally having a larger cauldron. There's not much I'm doing that I need so much. I need a big pot. I don't need to do that. And if I'm really doing something magical and you know, it's like herbs and stuff like that, I would just use my regular kitchen pot as long as I'm not putting any kind of herbs in there that I think might be lethal or something like that. Yeah, I would just use a regular pot. If I was making some sort of potion, I wouldn't use a cauldron. Although now I'm thinking about it. See, the more when I went through this list and I started thinking, I was like, do I want a cauldron? Do I want to look for that now? I don't know. For now, I don't think I need it. If I pop up with one and I show in the video, I have succumbed to my urge to buy it. But we're going to work that out off camera. Candles, obviously. Candles are a big part of a lot of people who practice witchcraft. It's our thing. We love a good candle. One thing I'm going to say about the candles is I think I'm going to make a point to start getting more healthy, ethical type brands of candles. I know soy, they say, is good. Something where it's not as much smoke. I'm noticing my vents, because of the candles that I burn so much, I'm noticing like they're getting black. I did a Google search earlier today because my husband was thinking mold, which is possible, but this is a brand new house and I live in a desert, so the dampness and mold's going to be tricky because we don't have a lot of humidity, so that's going to be tricky. But what I know for sure is every HVAC company in their FAQ section, and they posted it to Google, basically says, you know, burning, especially scented candles, if they have a scent, it'll turn your filter black, and your your intake vents and all that sort of stuff. So again, it's just something to be careful for. This is kind of my personal stuff, but be careful with burning your candles for the fire purposes as well, but also for the smoke. You got to be careful breathing that in. Maybe you just burn oils instead. So the other thing is, I know some people have like ancestor money. Those are things maybe not everybody's familiar with. I don't use that sort of stuff. I don't have any issue. First of all, if it's usually classified as occult witchy, I usually don't have a problem with it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Even if I'm not using it, I'll look at it like, maybe I'll use it later. I don't know. I'm into it. So it's not much that's going to kind of turn me off when in that category. Just because I don't use it, I can understand it. I'd be very interested to know how someone else is using it, though. So ancestor money, I don't know a lot about it, but I understand it's something you might put on your altar for your ancestors, I believe. And special paper for petitions, maybe vellum papers. You might have just certain paper. You might have invested a little bit in sourcing, a certain type of paper because you want to make it special. So that's another more obscure tool because you wouldn't probably, or supply you wouldn't necessarily think about. But yeah, or a special pen, or the ink, the pen you dip in ink, like the feather pen. I don't know why I'm struggling with those words today, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So, you might want to invest in that because, again, using these are special for a specific ritual, a specific working, or any type of magical workings you're doing. And in your head, it's go time. When you pull that out, you got the altar cloth, you got your grimoire, your candles, incense, which is my next thing. Your mind shifts to a different place. Your energy changes up. Okay, this is what we're on now. We're in a magical sense now. Incense, by the way, is the other thing. Incense, I grew up in a house with incense. We always burn incense. That's just a thing, which, by the way, as it turns out, can also affect the air force, the AC filters. But anyway, the thing I like about incense is that they have their own vibe. The scent that comes off of each one, it could take you to a certain place. It could make you feel a certain way because scent can trigger memories. It can trigger different reactions for you, emotions and so forth. So that's what I like about incense. And again, like I said, burning oils. For me, it just, it can cleanse, which is the next thing. Dried herbs, burning dried herbs, sage and so forth, or woods, the Palo Santo, things like that nature. Those are great tools to have. Again, that's something, sage, you're probably going to have that and use that more often if you're cleansing often. And another thing about sage, if you live in a house, not necessarily an apartment, or even if you do and you don't mind, sage outside your door too. On your patio, in your backyard, walk around the length of your property as best as that you can. And just burn sage. I think we're at the point now with most people see you burning sage. A lot of people really open to the metaphysical and to the new age, occult and all that sort of stuff. It's not so foreign. People say, oh, she's into new age stuff. Yeah, yoga's new age to a lot of people. So, don't be concerned so much about people looking at you. Now, there's a gnat in here. If you are doing that and you're walking around with a pentacle necklace and I don't know, your grimoire out, I don't know, maybe people have a little bit more questions, but if you're doing all that anyway, guess what? They already know what you're about this, so they're probably going to leave you alone anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this subject matter, the stuff on how to be a witch series. I wanted to end it more on a light note because, it's not all skulls and black and dark colors and, fire. A lot of that actually is very true. However, there's a little bit more to it. You can have fun with this. It's up to you. It's what you're really, what you're really open to and how you, watch the first part of the series, Understanding Witchcraft. What do you define? How do you see your magic? How do you see your path, your spiritual path, your witchcraft? How do you see it? How do you define it? Write that down in your magical journal. That should be probably in the first part and go from there. And that way the tools start to make sense. So you're not buying probably stuff you won't need because guess what? You know who you are. You know what you're about. And when you're attracted to a specific supply or magical tool, it makes sense to you for whatever purpose you're going to use it for. It will make sense to you. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to come back to that humble thing and where it fits in this. Don't worry about what others think. The more you practice, and you might have a lot, you might, kind of get a lot of magical supplies over the years. The more you practice, you might actually, someone come over, they could be really impressed, with the amount of stuff that you start to gather. And remember, it can be natural elements, so everything's not about money. But here, stay with me. There are going to be other people, probably those who practice as well, who might want to let you know that you might want to humble yourself, especially the more that you grow in your witchcraft and the more that you begin to gain things, and things seem to work out for you. Again, it's not always just about money. It could be location. It could be love life. It could be, refrigerator got really loud if you can hear that. Anyway, whatever it is that you're obtaining in your life, there's this need, I noticed, that people want to tell you to humble yourself because you're enjoying your life. You're enjoying the things that you work for, because I'm sorry, practicing witchcraft is work. So people want to sometimes remind you that you need to basically take it down, go down a peg, so I can feel comfortable about you. And that's how I feel about the concept of humbling. It's usually about, making someone else feel comfortable. Let me bring my accomplishments. Let me make myself a little bit smaller, a little bit more attainable, so that you can feel comfortable, because now you're on my level. The last thing I want to, people want you to do, I'll say people, is to sort of flex, because that's considered being, I guess, a braggart, And then for those who subscribe to the belief that the more you do that, eventually it's going to get taken away. The reason they think like that, and that's why they haven't gone further than you, honestly. Let's just be real. That's why they're where they are, and they need you to come down to their level versus them being on your level or above. Is because they have this concept that eventually the rug's going to be pulled up from underneath of them, and whenever you do well, if you marry a rich husband, he gonna beat you, girl. So what's the point? It's that kind of crazy thinking. If you move out the country, you got an opportunity to move across country or something like that, or out of the country, oh, well, it's probably not safe there. The Mexican cartel or some, people come with crazy stuff, and you're like, well, why can't I just be happy? Like, why does it have to end horribly? You get my point. And people want you to shrink yourself so they feel more comfortable. Sometimes having all the stuff, or having some of the magical stuff, and it works for you. See, you don't just have stuff. It actually works. You're actually able to cast with success. There are going to be probably, and it's the surprisingly other people who practice who might remind you, humble. You don't want to talk too much about it. Humble yourself. Be proud. Wear your necklace. Wear your pentacle necklace. Wear, your crystals in your bra and your stuff around as much as you can that you feel comfortable with. Be you. Use your stuff. Oh, well, then get over it. And that's all I got on that. So thanks for watching. This is Mika. Leap Taken. Please go ahead and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. And again, if you've subscribed, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, bye.